The sound of a pendulum clock rings out. Tick-tock, tick-tock, steady, relentless, like the march of history itself. But is history truly a straight line? Or is it a book with many pages torn out? We are often told of eureka moments, of solitary geniuses. Thomas Edison and the light bulb suddenly blazing. Watson and Crick cheering in a Cambridge lab. Archimedes leaping from his bath. They are beautiful images, tidy and easy to remember. But the truth, often, is much messier. The truth is hidden in forgotten pages, in notes scribbled in the margins, in names that have been deliberately erased. The history of science, much like the history of war, is often written by the victors, or more accurately, by those holding the microphone. Today, we will reopen 3 files, 3 great inventions that shaped the modern world. And we will search for the ghosts, the silent collaborators, the brilliant minds who were pushed out of the spotlight. Their voices were buried. It is time we listened. Let's begin with the blueprint of life itself. DNA, the 1950s. London was shrouded in post-war fog. At King's College, the atmosphere in the laboratory was cold and tense. There, a female scientist named Rosalind Franklin was working. She was a leading expert in X-ray crystallography, a job that demanded obsessive meticulousness. That required endless patience. Franklin had both. She was not an easy person to like. She was serious, focused, and scientifically uncompromising. She believed in data, only the data. For months, she had patiently beamed X-rays through a purified strand of DNA, trying to capture its image, trying to force this mysterious molecule to reveal its true shape. And then, in May 1952, she did it. The sound of a film being developed, the gentle sound of running water. On that small negative, after processing, was an image. It was not clear to the naked eye, just faint dark smudges arranged in a distinct X. For Franklin, it was a shocking moment. She named it Photo 51. That X screamed one thing, a helical structure. She recorded it in her notebook, carefully, calculating. This data was the key. Meanwhile, at another university, Cambridge, 2 young scientists were in a hurry. James Watson and Francis Crick. They were also hunting for the structure of DNA. But they weren't doing experiments like Franklin. They were building models. They were like children playing with blocks, trying to fit the pieces together. But they were missing a critical piece. They didn't know the true shape. They had tried a triple helix and failed. Watson and Crick knew about Franklin's work. They saw her as a competitor, even though technically she had no idea she was in a race. There was another man at King's College, Maurice Wilkins. Wilkins also worked with X-rays, but his relationship with Franklin was terrible. They barely spoke. Wilkins viewed Franklin as an assistant, even though she was a scientist of equal standing. A misunderstanding or deliberate condescension. In January 1953, James Watson visited King's College. He spoke with Wilkins, and then the decisive moment happened. Wilkins, perhaps out of personal animosity, perhaps because he felt Franklin's work also belonged to him, perhaps because of ingrained sexism, did something. He showed Watson Photo 51. Imagine that moment. Watson looking at the picture. That X. To him, it wasn't data to be analyzed, it was the answer, like seeing the solution at the back of the book. He instantly knew that DNA was a double helix. Everything he and Crick had been fumbling with suddenly became clear. Watson returned to Cambridge. The sound of hurried footsteps. He and Crick worked like madmen. They used Franklin's data she had spent a year creating, as their foundation. They did not ask her permission. They did not tell her. Within weeks, they had completed their model, the famous metal and wire double helix. In April 1953, the journal Nature published 3 articles. Watson and Crick's paper was first, introducing the grand model. Wilkins's paper and Franklin's paper were published behind it, like supporting evidence, not the foundation. In their paper, Watson and Crick had a vague acknowledgement. We were also stimulated by the ideas and unpublished results of Dr. Wilkins and Dr. Franklin. An understatement. A whitewashing of history as it was happening. In 1962, Watson, Crick, and Wilkins shared the Nobel Prize in medicine. Thunderous applause. Rosalind Franklin was not there. She had died 4 years earlier from ovarian cancer, likely from the very radiation she had used to capture photo 51. The Nobel Prize is not awarded posthumously. Franklin's story is not that she was robbed of the Nobel, because she was gone. Her story is that her contribution was diminished, minimized. For years, she was just a footnote in Watson and Crick's story. It wasn't until the book The Secret of Photo 51 was released that the world began to understand. She was not an assistant. She was not support. She was the one who found the key. She was the one who took the picture that revealed life. History had been rewritten, but the original photograph remained, a silent X, testifying to the truth. This story is sad, but it is not unique. We leave London, leave the biological code, and go to the heart of the atom. And the next story is even darker. It involves not just stolen careers, but survival, war, and a weapon that could destroy the world. Berlin, the 1930s. The political atmosphere was turning toxic. The sound of marching boots began to echo in the streets. But inside the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Chemistry, an extraordinary collaboration was underway. Lise Meitner and Otto Hahn. They had worked together for 30 years. Meitner was an Austrian physicist of Jewish descent, a brilliant mind. She was the first female physics professor in Germany. Hahn was an outstanding chemist. They were the perfect pair. Meitner provided the physics theory. Hahn performed the chemical experiments. They were studying the greatest mystery of the age. They were firing neutrons into uranium atoms, trying to create heavier elements. But the results they got were strange. It made no sense. Then, in 1938, disaster struck. The Nazis annexed Austria. Lise Meitner, despite having converted to Protestantism, suddenly lost her Austrian citizenship. Her Jewish blood made her a target. The sound of breaking glass, nighttime arrests. She was no longer safe. Otto Hahn, her longtime friend, could not protect her. He was worried about his own career. Meitner, at the age of 60, had to flee Germany with only 10 marks in her pocket. She left everything behind: her work, her belongings, and the laboratory where she had dedicated her life. She arrived in Sweden, alone. No lab, no equipment, no collaborators. She had only her mind and her correspondence with Hahn. From Berlin, Hahn continued the experiments they had started, and he became even more confused. When he bombarded uranium with neutrons, he didn't get a heavier element. He got barium, a much lighter element. It was like firing a bullet at a boulder and getting back sand. He wrote to Meitner, who was now near the Arctic Circle. He begged her for an explanation. "Perhaps you can come up with some fantastic explanation," he wrote. He, the chemist, could not understand the physics behind it. Christmas 1938, a snowy landscape. Lise Meitner was walking in the woods with her nephew, Otto Frisch, also a physicist. The sound of snow crunching under their feet. She held Hahn's letter. She thought, barium. How could barium come from uranium? And then the moment arrived. Not in a lab, but in the snow. She stopped. She realized the uranium atom wasn't chipping. It was splitting. She and Frisch sat down on a log, took out paper and a pencil, and calculated. They used Einstein's theory of relativity, E/mc squared. They calculated the energy released when a uranium nucleus broke apart. The number was enormous, an energy source previously unknown. Meitner had done it. She had explained it. She gave it a name. Nuclear fission. She immediately sent the results to Hahn. But what happened next was a shock. Otto Hahn knew he was holding something monumental, but publishing it with a Jewish scientist in exile, that was politically impossible, dangerous for him. In December 1938, Hahn rushed to publish his findings in a German journal. He published it as a purely chemical discovery. He did not include Lise Meitner's name as co-author. He claimed she was not involved in the most important part of the work. He erased her from history. When Meitner and Frisch published their paper explaining the physics a few weeks later, it was too late. The world already knew of Hahn's discovery. World War II erupted. The discovery of nuclear fission was immediately militarized. The Manhattan Project began. Lise Meitner was invited to join the Manhattan Project. She could go to America, work with the greatest minds, and build the atomic bomb. She refused. Her voice was firm. I will have nothing to do with a bomb. She was the only one among the top nuclear physicists to refuse the invitation. In 1944, while the war was still raging, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was announced. It was awarded to Otto Hahn, alone, for his discovery of the fission of heavy nuclei. Lise Meitner, the one who had directed the work for 30 years, the one who had identified the problem, the one who had provided the theoretical explanation, the one who had named it, completely ignored. After the war, Hahn tried to justify his actions. He said it was because of the political situation. He said Meitner's physics was just supporting work that came later. He even claimed she had made mistakes. He rewrote history to make himself the sole genius. Lise Meitner never received the Nobel Prize. She was nominated 49 times but never won. She forgave Hahn as a friend, but she never forgave the injustice of the scientific community. She was the mother of the atomic age, a mother disowned by her own creation. From destructive atomic energy, we moved to something more familiar, something illuminating the room you are in right now, the light bulb. When you think of the light bulb, who do you think of? Thomas Edison, right. The Wizard of Menlo Park. The legend says Edison tried 1,000 or 10,000 different materials for the filament, and finally he found it, a carbonized bamboo thread. He lit up the world. It's a wonderful story of perseverance, but it's missing a critical part. Edison was a genius businessman, an outstanding lab manager, but he did not work alone. His Menlo Park laboratory was full of brilliant minds, the Edison pioneers, and one of the most brilliant and most forgotten was Lewis Howard Latimer. Latimer's story is an extraordinary American story. He was born in 1848. His parents were escaped slaves. His father had to fight in Boston courts to win his freedom. Lewis Latimer was entirely self-taught. He joined the Union Navy as a young man. After the war, he got a job at a patent law office. He started as an office boy, but he watched, he learned, he taught himself mechanical drawing, and he became so good that he was promoted to chief draftsman. His talent attracted attention. He helped Alexander Graham Bell draft the technical drawings for the telephone patent. But Latimer was more than just a draftsman. He was an inventor. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison was having a big problem with his light bulb. His carbonized paper filament, while it worked, burned out too quickly. It wasn't durable. It was too expensive to manufacture. It was not ready to light the world. It was just an expensive laboratory toy. Lewis Latimer, now working for Edison's rival, Hiram Maxim, saw the problem, and he found the solution. A solution that changed everything. He invented a cheaper, more durable process for manufacturing carbon filaments. He devised a way of encasing the carbon filament inside a cardboard envelope, which stabilized it and dramatically extended its life. He was granted a patent for the process of manufacturing carbons in 1881. That was the missing piece. It was not Edison's bamboo thread, but Latimer's durable carbon filament that made the electric light bulb practical. It turned the bulb from a laboratory curiosity into a commercial product that could light up every home. And what happened? Edison, recognizing Latimer's talent, hired him. A smart move. Latimer became a key member of Edison's team. He supervised the installation of electric light systems in New York, Philadelphia, and London. He was the only African-American engineer on the team. He wrote the first textbook on electric lighting systems. He was a giant in the field. But who does history remember? Only Edison. The name Edison became synonymous with light. His shadow was so large, it obscured everyone who worked with him. Latimer was not erased like Meitner or minimized like Franklin. He was absorbed. His contributions, along with many others, were folded into the legend of a single genius. When we flip a light switch, we should remember Thomas Edison, but we must also remember Lewis Latimer, the son of an escaped slave, the man who truly figured out how to keep that flame burning. Rosalind Franklin, Lise Meitner, Lewis Latimer. 3 stories, 3 hidden truths. They are not the only victims. The history of science is full of such ghosts. Women who were called assistants, people of color who were denied recognition, colleagues betrayed by ambition. Why is it important to tell these stories? Are we trying to tear down the great men? No. Watson and Crick truly did solve the puzzle. Otto Hahn was a gifted chemist. Thomas Edison was a relentless innovator. But we tell these stories to make the picture complete, to restore justice to the forgotten, to understand that science is never the work of one person. It is a dialogue, a collaboration, sometimes a fight. The pendulum clock rings out again. Tick, tock. History is not a straight line. It is a complex web, full of dead ends and obscured paths. By shining a light into those dark corners, we are not changing the past. We are simply telling the truth, and the light of truth, much like Lewis Latimer's invention, is always more durable and more brilliant than the darkness of forgetting. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.